very well know, my name is Ikwecheh. I was born in Aba 41 years ago by late Chief and Lolo Mascot Okanto Ikwecheh. Well, it's of course, Obi, you already know that it's not possible in any way that a local government chairman would, as they said, that I took monies and I ran away to the United States and I lived in the United States, and now that I'm back, it's not possible in any way that a local government chairman will even take 1 month's salary belonging to civil servants and go free. So this is just a political, I would say, statement that is used to counter, I believe, my position in the polity. But I do understand that it requires my attention, and this issue must be addressed. You see, when I became local government chairman, I came in as a local government chairman in 2008, I think on the 10th of January, either 10th or 8th of January of 2008, and I met 8 months arrears. 8 months arrears was already being owed in Abanot then. Immediately when we came in, we were lucky. We after 3 months in my administration, we had access to SS crude funds, and I was able to drop that wage bill from 8 months to about 5 months. And the workers were really happy. Then we built the one-story building that you can see there, renovated the entire council, asphalted the council as we were having problems of waterlogs in the council, built a health center at Omogo, did the road that led to the council, did sidewalks, practically began to change the psychology of the people in the council. And everybody was really happy till the economic recession hit us in 2008. Everybody that is old enough would remember that we experienced a global economic meltdown in 2008, which affected every local government in the state. Most local governments back then were receiving, I especially was receiving zero allocation, but the governor and the state government, out of their magnanimity, would at least give us something. I remember the least that I got back then was 4 million, and the highest that I got was about 17 million thereabouts. Meanwhile, my wage bill back then was around 31 million to take care of monthly. My wage bill was 31 million to take care of the civil servants' salaries and also the political office holders. Then again, we began to immediately seek for other means or avenues to take care of this shortfall. So we had to intensify our efforts to harness our internally generated revenue, which we did all we could to harness. But let's assume let me even do an average of 15 million in a month. If you do an average of 15 million in a month as allocation, and then you need another 16 million to make up our internally generated revenue, we're making about maybe 5-6 million, 4 million in a month. So it was never enough. So what we were doing back then is we would use sometimes 1 month allocation to pay 2 months salary. That's 2 months allocation to pay 1 month salary, because if we get 15 million, we'll have to get another 15 million to make up. So we were battling with these things at the tail end of my administration. So we had to, as we couldn't resolve it, the governor so many times tried to intervene, but we couldn't, because all other local government chairmen were also going through the same thing. Now, part of the reasons why Abanot's case is quite peculiar is because Abanot is in the metropolis, and the metropolis is a place where a lot of senior civil servants live, and you have to pay these senior civil servants, heavily, because everybody would want to live in the metropolis and not in the rural local government. So our wage bill was quite high, and of course, like everybody knows, you have the local government and chieftaincy affairs that oversee the activities of the local government. You have the commissioner, you have the PAMSEC, you have the directors, you have the House of Assembly that plays an oversight function towards the administration of the local government. You also have the head of service, cashier, treasurer. So there's really no way a local government chairman and the head and the treasurer and the cashier. There's really no, and also the legislative arm of the local government. So there's really no way a local government chairman can take funds and keep for himself. Anyway, to go back to the story. So we eventually struggled within this period that we had dropped the allocation, deficit, the salary deficit from 8 months to 5 months, when the going was good. We eventually, when I was leaving, of course there's no excuse for that because it's not really a good thing, but we eventually managed to control it, and when I left we owed 9 months salary. I met at 8 months, and when we left I think it was 9 months or 9.5 months salary, which was not a peculiar thing with Abanot. All the local government in the state owed salaries because of the economic crisis. But I do understand that, I've been away for a while and I'm back, and it's news again. But for people that have access to the public archives, can go and verify this. And most of the local government councils then, for instance, I would receive 4 million, 7 million, 11 million. So there was really nothing anyone could do. And I did not have the heart to begin to cut down. I remember Okwa West, then headed by Chief Sylvanus Mwaji, was a local government chairman from Okwa West then, that began to cut down on civil servants so that we could have so he could be able to use what he has to pay salaries. I did not know how to do it. Not that we couldn't do it, but we didn't think it was right to do it. What we only did was to identify the ghost workers that were working in the council that were not non-existent, but somebody somewhere was taking their funds, and we tried to cut down on those ghost workers. That was even how we didn't hit up to 15 months wage bill, because a bunch of invisible staffs would pop up and have access to local government resources. So at the end of the day, we left the council. I remember when we left, the governor then appointed TC council members, and the governor deployed humongous amount of money to offset. Then the economy had already started picking up once again, so the governor now had to offset those deficits. So the issue of local government is quite deeper than a lot of people think. This is an arm of government that is managed and spearheaded by a bunch of responsible men. One person does not make that kind of decision of playing God or playing king or monarch to decide this is what goes to where, and this is what goes here, this is what goes there. How it happens is you have your F&G, you discuss, just like the governor has his commissioners, you have your supervisors, you have the councillors, you have the HODs, that's the senior civil servants in the council. So what happens is when we receive any allocation, we call the stakeholders involved. I remember, even though it wasn't palatable then, but I would post a photocopy of the checks that we had received from the federal government. We would post them on our notice board to alert our civil servants of the current conundrum, or I would say challenges that we were going through, for everybody to be aware. So there's really no stringent alliance that would confirm or validate that report that we owed salaries and took it to the United States. And I met 8 months salary, and when I left it was around 9 months.
So in a nutshell, you left the council with just a month and a half
salary deficit, with the struggle and the intellectual capabilities that we deployed or employed to ensure that this was waged and managed.
Talk about that.
Well, that's not true. We didn't use 50 million to set it up. The building is right there. The records are there. The man that built it is the contractor that built it is still alive. The records are there. My head of service, chief, a respectable man, Chief Ben Nwogu, is still very much alive. My treasurer, I can't say where he is. My cashier, they are all still alive. My legislative arm, they are all still alive. So nobody invested 50 million to build any of these things. I remember vividly when I came into the council didn't even have money. Some of us would invest our personal hard-earned funds, because I was already doing very well as a businessman before I came into the council, to help to quell or solve some of the internal problems of the local government, which most of us did not even ask for, due to the passion that we had to see that the place is improved. Then again, if you check the entire local government headquarters and go back to pre-Ikwecheh, you will see a huge difference. You will see that the entire place was asphalted, and it wasn't the way it wasn't like that when I came. You will see that this upstairs that you are talking about was erected, and you can see that it wasn't like that when I came. I don't even think we did not even have up to 50 million naira in our disposal for us to now inject, because I told them, I said, we'll have to do this thing direct labor. I called the head of service, I called the F&G, I said, we cannot afford to bring in a contractor to do the job, because we have to do this thing direct labor. So the HOD works and the engineers and one of the councillors, who happened to be a builder, his name is Chief Bunch, also played a role to see that this building was erected at the lowest minimum cost. I can't really remember how much, but I don't think it was even up to 20 million. You mean personal loans or local government loan?
Local government loan that was not utilized for the purpose.
Well, you see, the business of government is a difficult business that a layman might not be able to understand. When I came into the council, Abanot was banking with Zenith Bank. And Zenith Bank happened to be a bank that has held Abanot ransom for a very long time. And the 8 months deficit that we are talking about was also being owed with Zenith Bank. And I remember, like I mentioned earlier, I used to be deputy chairman before I became chairman. So I understand, our relationship with Zenith Bank. I'm not saying that Zenith Bank is not a good bank, but I remember when funds are paid into the council, the bank sits on the funds, and then you have to reapply, and it has to take a process, and 2 weeks has already passed, then you'll be struggling to pay the workers. So when I came, it was a problem. So immediately I came, I remember when I first got my ticket to run for local government chairman, the Zenith Bank came to me, and they even offered me money, and they asked me to remain with them. And I told them no problem, that I've heard them, but I can't say anything till I come in and begin to diagnose the situation. So when we came in, I realized that Zenith Bank was holding the initial bank. I don't even want to, mention their names so they won't seem somehow. The initial bank was holding the local government ransom. So what we did was we now called First Bank to pay off Zenith Bank, so we can be free from Zenith Bank entirely. You cannot be owing a bank and walk away, without paying them. So what we did was Zenith Bank, First Bank, that paid off Zenith Bank, and we became free from the shackles of Zenith Bank, and we renegotiated our repayment, the charges and everything to sort of drop it at a lower percentage, and I believe that is where this accusation is coming from.
Okay, so you also notice that you've embarked on several palliative programs and empowerment programs, scholarship programs. Can you please tell us how many people do you think you've been partake so far on these programs and mentioned hold on scholarship? And again, what are the objectives behind what?